Welcome to Tell Me More, an Allsteel podcast where design meets innovation and we explore the limitless potential of the modern workplace.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Tell Me More podcast. I'm Andrea Gauss, and excited to be joined today by Julia De Bono. She's our CEO and studio director at BMW Designworks, as well as Delaney Santos, where she is a designer at BMW Designworks as well, joining us from Southern California. I wish I was there. How's the weather? It's a sunny day in SoCal.
It's great. Always beautiful. Great. Yes, always great.
Always great. Well, I'm in Eastern Iowa, and I'm finally getting to plant some flowers. It's been cold, so we're excited about things here. Today, we're going to jump in on a conversation around AI. So the first thing I want to tell our audience is this is not an AI podcast. We are speaking to you, actually human voices, right? This is not faked. So This is not an AI produced recording. But we do want to talk about AI and how it is shifting our rhythms, shifting our daily activity, and get into a little bit around maybe some adversaries of the topic right now. So we are speaking to you May of 2026. We are pro AI advocates today. We might change our mind in a month. We don't know. We'll see. But right now we're kind of liking it. Liking how it's helping to augment our daily activity. So Delaney, I'm going to ask you quick. Have you embraced the technology? How have you embraced it? What's been your journey a little bit?
Yeah. So our studio is very pro AI, and I'm very grateful for that. I think that wasn't even a pathway that I could go down when I first entered the workforce. So I graduated doing industrial design and started working on the industrial design team at Designworks. And throughout the years that I've been there, there's been some more and more opportunity to incorporate AI into our process. So it's kind of allowed me to cross over into different fields as well. It used to be that you're on the industrial design team, you do industrial design. And then there's an automotive team, they do automotive design. So now with all these different tools that we have, I'm able to do some more crossover and kind of learn from the automotive team or learn from our interaction design team and work with them and kind of produce different results than was ever possible before. It's really given me a lot of room to kind of become this multi-hyphenate designer. And I think that's the direction our studio is going. So it's really a great tool to go along with kind of our new mission of, everyone is a designer and design thinking doesn't change depending on what industry you're in.
I love that you're getting out of silos. I know that we have some individuals that are afraid that AI will drive greater siloing because you'll start interacting just with your AI tool versus the people around you. So Julia, talk a little bit about that. How do you organize your studio in such a way that there is great cross-pollination across the different areas?
So I think we started experimenting with AI tools 3 years ago, which is a long time in AI years.
That's true.
A lot has happened during that time. And I think we started to welcome AI like another intelligence that is joining us and joining the workforce. I think the main attitude that we had towards it is to really, as Delaney said, embrace it, to let it be part of the team and become more and more part of the team. So basically like another creative that we are onboarding. And now we see that it's learning a lot from us. And now we get a lot of creativity back from it. We did have to decide at some point whether we want to become a user of AI or be very creative with it, become a creator with AI and a good collaborator. And we did choose the second path. So of course, there are tools that we can use. And I think our team is very proficient at using these tools now. But we are also creating these tools. And creating tools means you're creating workflows, you're training tools, you're making them your own. So I think that's how we started working with AI. I think now it's very natural of how we work and how we embrace it and how we proceed with it. So I can't even see it anymore because it has become very normal.
Yes. Have you had anyone join your studio that feels a little bit like the technology is taking over their creativity or their art, their craft? You get any pushback in that way or not really?
No, I can't say that. Delaney, you're more part of that, the team that is working with it, but I wouldn't say so.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah. I think there maybe is like some like more traditional that are wary of it or like unsure. I wouldn't say they're pushing back like we can't use that. But I think if you're not familiar with the tool, it can seem a little bit scary or like I know there's a lot of talk about like, oh, AI is going to steal our jobs. And I definitely don't feel that way. I think we're really empowered to use it whenever there's a chance to. And I think the more that you learn about it and you learn to become a director of it versus letting it kind of control your output, there's no need to be worried about that, in my opinion.
So can you talked a little bit, Julia, both of you, about workflows and how you're directing the machine is not directing you, you're creating agents, you're developing it. Talk a little bit about that, like very practically. What are some workflows? How are you bringing it along? You said it's like onboarding another intellectual. I think it's similar, those words.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that look like?
So if I compare it to the past, what we did is we had toolboxes, right? And we knew what was in our toolboxes. So, there is, a pen is a classic toolbox item of a designer. There might be an eraser, there's a marker, there is pastels, and so on. And I think a good designer always knows what tools to take for which part of the process. And I think it's not very different to that. You have your different AI tools, and they are tools, right? You need tools for creation, for ideation. You need a good partner, a partner who might be very wild and creative and hallucinates sometimes. And then you're going into a more refined phase where you need someone who can translate what you're doing quite fast into something that expresses your idea. And then you're going into a good visualization to, bring that idea to life and animate it maybe a bit. So those kinds of workflows are the ones that you are curating on your machine, and Delaney can talk a bit more about that. But that's what I'm seeing when I'm walking past my designers' desktops. They all have these node-based systems now where I can basically see their thought process, which is really amazing for me. Like I see where the language input is. I do see where they prompt, the mood, where they prompt the color material palette, where they're looking at the visualization style, where they put in their own portions, like their sketches, their ideas. And I can see all of that. And for me, that's really revealing, like the kind of thought process that is on a surface suddenly. And I think that's the workflows that we are talking about right now. And every designer is different. Some are more visualization heavy, some are more ideation heavy. So it's very individual, actually.
Julia, I love that because when you think about a really great designer, whether they're an interior designer, an industrial designer, even a graphic designer, to get them to articulate in a prompt what is in their brain is exactly what we need to be able to articulate to a junior designer, someone new out of college. And so I think it is forcing some people who have been in the industry, whatever job they're in for a long time, to be able to slow down and think through when I'm looking at this thing, am I looking vertically or horizontally? What dimension am I looking at? What am I thinking about the color palette or the lighting or the shadows or the angles? And so to get that out of somebody's brain and into a prompt on a paper, that is something we've never really done before. We've never been forced to do in the way that we're doing now. So I think that's a really interesting articulation of that. Delaney, anything to add in terms of your workflows and how are you learning other people's workflows or where are you sharing, hey, I did this thing, it was really cool, you should do the same thing. Do you do much of that?
Yeah, I think that's constantly happening at our studio. We have dedicated AI days where we kind of like, okay, let's regroup. And everyone has their own niche or the way that they work. So we have these days where we come together and each person gets to kind of like talk about, well, this is my process when I'm doing this. Or there might be someone that's more experienced in like video with AI or image with AI, text with AI. So we all come together and kind of share out our workflow process, but that's not the only time that we do that. We also, like if you're working on a project, sometimes we'll be working with another designer that's also using AI and you're seeing the results that they're getting. And we kind of like, I did this input, let me share it with you. Or, I took this piece and then I photoshopped it and I put it back in and I'll give you that. And it's very collaborative. And I really love that about it. It's like everyone somehow has a unique way that they're producing or generating. And you can kind of even tell like who did what. Like everyone has their own style, just like normal design.
That's right.
So it's really cool. And I really love that it's kind of this like in and out, like we're working in this platform, then we're working in this one, then you're handing it to this person, and then you're taking their piece and putting it back in. It's super collaborative.
So you hear people saying it's going to take jobs, all those things. And then you have the pro AI user saying, no, it's going to augment, right?
Right.
How have you seen it help you save time? What is it? Fewer iterations that you have to go through, or where are you seeing it add to your creative process?
Yeah. So I think for me personally, it's never come right out of the oven like, oh, it's perfect, ready to go. But it does really help you explore ideas faster. I think, especially with some of our deadlines, timelines that get, sprung on the whole studio, it's like, okay, we have to have this by tomorrow or something. And in the past, that would be much more difficult. So now we're able to kind of start the upfront process a lot faster. We're also able to generate more kind of like out of the box ideas. If you're kind of blending things together, a lot of designers were all looking at the same inspiration on Pinterest, or La Manouche is like another website. So to kind of be able to create your own that's more geared towards what you're working on. And then from there, of course, you're still using your design brain, you're still using your skills. So it's kind of like this like new way to jumpstart the process. And then we also use it a lot for kind of these visualizations that we do for pitches, or we do to kind of have an image that just gets the message across right away. That's not like you have to read a lot of text. And so to get that, usually they're very custom. And it's something that before would take forever. You have to build it in 3D. You have to set up the rendering and the lighting and the materials, and then you have to render it, and that takes a lot of time itself. So now we're able to kind of produce like a base layer that then we use our traditional design tools like Photoshop to get it really what we want it to be versus kind of something that's just like AI slop, as people might say.
Absolutely. Yeah, the precision of the craft is something that you're continuing to mold. And I think that's what's really interesting. When you think about technology over time, technology is great because a craftsman has built their intellect into the machine, right? And that's what I hear you saying. Both of you are training it based on your own intellectual capacity, capability. Do you find yourself, do you have kind of a primary AI tool that you're using that you're willing to share with us or tell us about, or are you really jumping platform to platform?
I think it changes all the time because the tools are developing in different ways. So we used to be like big mid-journey users. Like that was huge when it first started because a lot of the stuff we're doing is image-based. And then it's kind of shifted. Now we're using Nano Banana a lot, and it's doing things that we were never able to do before, like put things in context. Like we had a project recently where we didn't get any images of the context that we're supposed to put it in, but we were able to kind of like find things online, and then we have Nano Banana fix it to the angle that we need. And it's just like that never would have been possible a few months ago. So it's changing all the time. And we also have one that we're building in-house that I think I'll let Julia talk about a bit more.
Oh, an internal tool. Okay, so before we get there, Julia, what guardrails have you put in place? Do you have concerns over intellectual property? Do you have concerns that you can own the ultimate output if part of it was generated using AI? Anything on kind of the boring legal side that you guys are wrestling through?
Sure. Like as soon as we are working on client projects, we do keep the models behind the firewalls. And we are using, as Delaney said, a lot of our own algorithms that we trained ourselves that also carry the intellectual property that you're referring to. So I think the training sets that we are using there, the training data, that is our own IP. We are keeping that on our own servers. And then, of course, for the ideation, and for like anything that we are doing in the early phase where we are looking for inspiration, we're doing basically the same work. We just do it a bit differently. So instead of going to these websites that Delaney mentioned, we are creating our own inspiration in a collaborative way. And we are doing that with the tools that are available. And then, of course, there are platform tools that connect different AIs and large language models well together. And I think they are the ones that are really interesting for us because we can do that behind the firewall on our own servers with downloaded platforms. And then they are getting really interesting and very powerful for us because they allow for the workflows that we were referring to earlier.
And so you're able to share via inside of the tool, you're able to share cross-functionally, or you have to kind of output it in order to share it across your team? Are you working on collaboratively on the same project inside of the AI tool or not yet?
The workflows can be shared. We do have some AI tools where we continuously train. Basically, the IP always goes back into our training data and training sets. So talking about, like how do we design a car, for example, we are training the input from our designers is training the tool directly. So that makes it better. It doesn't always make it better. For certain parts, we have noticed now that you can also overtrain an algorithm or a model.
Okay.
And then it's not as free anymore, like the creativity is more
constrained.
guardrail.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an interesting process. It's a lot of learning, of course. But yeah, the guardrails are really important for us. We have, of course, the responsibility to keep our project safe and protect IP. So we are taking those measures to ensure that.
That's great. All right. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news lately, but they're saying we have entered the doom cycle of this technology, right? So every new technology goes through various phases. There have been lots of graduation speeches given over the last couple of weekends at major universities where the speaker has talked about AI, talked about how it's going to transform jobs, and the students graduated have booed the speaker basically off the stage, or at least to such an overwhelming sound that you can't even hear the speaker. What would you say to a student entering the workforce who is frustrated and or scared by what AI means for their profession in the future?
I would say it's not going to go away. I would say being scared is understandable, but it's not a solution. I think being creative with it, embracing it, and finding a path forward to make yourself better, enhance your capabilities, and finding a new baseline for your work is really important. I think there is no way back. I think that's my main message. It's not going to go away. I think there is a lot of positive capability, and I think everyone has the responsibility to take this tool and use it for something good rather than others that might be using it for something bad. So you have a good opportunity to make a positive change. And I think that's the most important thing that we should do with this new tool. Use it for good.
That's right. The tool itself, the technology itself is benign. It's what we choose to do with it that matters. I love that. That's a great point, Julia. How about you, Delaney? You're closer to the population of students graduating right now. What's your perspective on this?
Yeah, I think within any craft, there's tradition, especially within the arts like we're working in. And kind of yesterday we were having this conversation and we were talking about like when I was younger, I used to do ballet and I did point, and there's this whole kind of culture around point shoes and they're built a certain way. They haven't been innovative. It's like layers of cardboard and you have to break them in and it's really painful. And it's this whole like you're earning this like rite of passage. And then a company came out with a shoe that is more innovative and it has a plastic shank that's like a better material so that you're not breaking them as fast. And there's cushions for your toes so that it's not as painful. And our teachers would be like, that's a cheater shoe. You're not allowed to use that shoe. You're not
Your toes have to bleed.
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
Suffer through the pain. So we were kind of like using that as an analogy of like, there's any industry, there's going to be innovation. And it's like you choose whether you embrace it or not. Even in design, you used to do hand drafting. Now
That's
there's
right.
CAD. And when CAD came out, like 3D, computer aided design came out, people were like, oh, it's going to steal our jobs. The computer's going to steal our jobs. And then the people that embrace it, you have more job opportunities. So I think, yes, in some ways, maybe old traditions or crafts die a little bit with technology. That's just like anything. But if you're on the wave of following it, I think you'll have more success. If you're pushing back and you're not using it, like Julia said, everyone else will be. Like, it's happening. We see it every day at work. It's happening. And if you're not using the tools, then I think you're just less competitive.
I think that's really smart. I mean, I think you guys are living out this notion of taking human creativity and the technology, and it's weaving throughout, and it's very much a part of the rhythm of your workforce. It feels that way. And I think that's really fun to just hear about that, understand that. So let's talk a little bit about people brand new to the workforce. And in some ways, some of those, maybe the iterations you would have given to the people with just a couple of months, couple of years worth of experience to kind of have to iterate and do, I'm going to refer to it as like intern type work, right? Admin type work. How do we help that talent onboard quickly, learn quickly? Because what I find myself when I'm using an AI tool, I'm using 20 years of industry experience to edit, to have intuition around, is this going to resonate? Is this not going to resonate? Delaney, you refer to AI slop, right? So how do we help people think through logically, strategically to see what's going to resonate versus just extra? Because you can create so much extra so fast right now. Have any ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually the people who are coming in at the company right now, they are the most savvy ones. So they bring in a lot of knowledge already because they have, they have studied it. And I think students mostly that we are getting now, they are very proficient in using different workflows, and they are very, as a designer, a fresh designer especially, you try out everything, and you're really excited about it. So I think we learn a lot from people who are joining Designworks right now. Like in every creative industry, you have people who experiment a lot, and I think that's what makes Designworks, especially right now, really interesting to work at, is that there is this new kind of speed. Let's just call it speed. That where we get to a broad selection of creativity. And then, of course, you have to apply critical thinking. You have to question everything. And I think that's the new baseline. I think you have to have a strong idea. The stronger your idea, the better you can guide this collaborator that is an artificial intelligence, and the better you can get to something that is in your head and onto a piece of paper or on a screen. And I think Delaney knows that working with AI is not just a one-click wonder. It's actually really hard work, and I see in the style that comes out of the AI. It took us so long to see the signature style of the designers again. It took like half a year that I could see, okay, that's a Delaney, that's a Hain, that's a Nicola, that I see designers in the work again. So it takes a long time to control these tools so they do exactly what you have in your head and that expresses what your idea is. I think that's the most interesting part of it. And I think it takes a long time. It's not to be underestimated how much time and effort it takes to get there. And to get to these flows that are not really flows in the beginning. They're very, bonky roads.
I love that you're able to see the human artistry. You both mentioned that. You can tell who created what out of the tool. And I think that's so encouraging. It's like the technology truly is augmenting, helping, collaborating with what's in my mind rather than creating its own thing. I think that's beautiful. How do you encourage people to set aside the time to be curious and explore? Delaney, you talked about you have AI days, you come together, you share ideas. Do you encourage, I've heard about 10% time where people dedicate 10% of their week to go create or explore this other thing. It seems like it's just a part of the culture there. But how would you encourage another studio or another firm who's thinking about really speeding up their AI journey? How do they set aside the time to make it a priority? And how do you encourage that?
Yeah, that's actually, of course, a challenge. I mean, we're an agency, so it's like an hourly business.
Billable hours. Yep.
Exactly. It's billable hours. And so you can't really set a lot of time aside because we have to, of course, earn money. But in the end, it will pay off. We are doing it a lot on projects, especially in the early phase. Definitely doing dedicated projects that are automating certain processes, and we see the payoff after like half a year or something. It comes quite quickly. The challenge is that the AI tools are changing so fast and they are developing with such a speed that every designer has to do it every day. And I have to rely on them being curious about it and wanting it themselves. So I think encouraging it and allowing for it to happen within project and being okay with sometimes things are not working out, and then you have to redo stuff. I think that's normal, learning a new tool, learning many tools. I think it's just a normal process now. It's worth investing in. It's worth doing a lot of loops. It's worth giving a bit of freedom to do so.
Wanting it and being curious on their own. I think that's the key quote of what you just said there, because I see in my marketing team, we do a lot of launch marketing, we do a lot of storytelling, creative visual, and some of the individuals that maybe weren't maybe at the top of pecking order, they've been so curious with AI and they've evolved so rapidly. And it's surprised me who has really taken it on and tackled them within my teams and who has not. And I think the key ingredient is curiosity.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
On top of the curiosity, to your point, it's changing so quickly. Like I'm trying to figure out, how do I scale this across my team? And it doesn't feel scalable because there's no static thing that we need to scale. It's like trying to scale this thing that's like morphing hourly, it feels like. So it is kind of challenging in that way. Delaney,
That's
you're
true.
smiling. You're smiling at all of this. Do you have any other thoughts? That I loved your little ballet storyline there. Any other thoughts that you are just excited about with the tool? Things that have surprised you that you just kind of want to share?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Sometimes I'll like volunteer and go back to like my school and kind of look at student work, and you see, some people, their presentation's amazing, and people will comment, well, but they use AI. And it's kind of like
It's a
this
negative. Yeah.
Yeah, like, does that really erase your entire skill set as a designer? I think kind of the ballet shoe thing, like, do you lose all of your skill as a dancer that you've built up just because you're using a shoe that's supposed to help you and be more comfortable for you to use? Like, if it's a tool that's helping you be more efficient, is that really like a bad thing? And it's kind of this interesting hot topic in the industry of like there's people that think our jobs are gone. And there's people that think if you use AI, it's cheating. It's just kind of interesting to hear that for us when we're using it every day and we're getting good results. And I work at a studio where it's very pro AI, obviously. I see kind of the other side of it of like, this is actually a tool that's really helping me. Of course, you have to have the skill set, like you were saying, you use your experience. And here we also use our experience. There's designer eye, kind of as some people say. And you need that to execute in the same way that you would when you're generating your own ideas and kind of like developing that from scratch versus like using AI as a starting point. You still have to edit. You still have to like make it your own. But we don't take anything straight out of AI and put that in a presentation. That never happens at our studio. So it's like, like if that's what people are thinking, okay, I could see how that's cheating. But we're just using it as something that's like helping us as a starting point. And then there's tons of traditional work that goes into it too. You're still making the design your own. You're still photoshopping. You're still sketching. So I think if you're coming from a place of like, oh, AI is bad and it's cheating, I don't know that you've like fully dived into how you can use the tool.
I love that. Delaney, that is so good. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Delaney. You've left me some great things to think about. And I think the lesson of if you're just using its final output and you're not touching it, you're not editing it at all, you're probably not using it to its full capability. I think that's a beautiful thought to kind of carry with us as we go. Any final thoughts before we close out?
I think just stay creative, stay a creator. I think that is possible also in an era of AI. I think it's the biggest human duty we have to stay that way and just work with a new tool, work with all intelligences, whether it's an artificial one, a natural one, just bring them together and use them for good.
Stay curious, stay creative. And with that, thank you for joining us on this episode. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Tell Me More. For more insights and stories, subscribe on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and connect with us on social @Allsteel. See you next time.